that both IBC and the police failed completely to even secure that polling station.
DCP won in Narok. Narok, I want to remind Eddie and Sigay, because in case they have forgotten, Narok is in Rift Valley. It is not in Mount Kenya. Then DCP won in Kisa East. Kisa East, Senator Eddie, is in Kakamega. Kakamega is in Western Province. Then DCP won in Kariobangi North, in Nairobi. That is not Mount Kenya. They will not talk about that.
Talking about successes, the successes are those which have been implemented immediately after he was impeached from office, because he was a stumbling block to most of those reform agendas that were there.
There is no competition in schools.
7 minutes.
You cannot talk about teachers.
Ronnie
Mau Summit has been stopped by a court of law.
Thank you.
Because a litigator was actually sent by Ruto to go and stop the same. So he launches and tells somebody to go to stop it.
You know,
can we have some order there?
Like you want to do the road.
The DCP is very keen on propaganda.
Don't lie to
DCP is good on propaganda.
Let's have some order. Senator,
so that Mau Summit does not happen.
Senator, thank you so much. Asante. Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator. Asante.
So there is no Mau Summit on the road. But now coming to the matter of by-elections, first of all, I want to tell you, Ayub, that the opposition did not lose. Victory was stolen. Actually, I should not say it was stolen. I should say the opposition's victory was robbed. Because about Bear North, where I was, the voting was happening last Thursday. I mean, everybody in this country who follows the news, because you people were covering these particular by-elections, know that, for example, in Bear North, there is a polling station called Gitifuri, where CS Rocco, which CS Rocco invaded, accompanied by, goons, armed with crude weapons, and plainclothes officers who were armed also. And he drew, as a person, in person, drew out our agents, the opposition agents. What happened in that polling station? After that, only CS Rocco can tell you. So the intimidation, the amount of money spent, the mere impunity, violence, and even lies in Bere, old people were told that if you do not vote for the government candidate, in this case, Wamudende, then your social protection, monies will be withdrawn. What do you expect of old people in a rural setup? The presence of government, because government had basically been transferred to Mbeere and Malava. But let me talk about Mbeere, which is where I was. That intimidation, the number of voters appearing in polling stations saying that they needed to be assisted. The imaging, taking images of the vote, because they had been told, and this is true, they had been told that once you photograph or you take a picture of your vote showing that you have voted for the government candidate, then you are going to be paid some money. The buying of ID cards, that young men and women were told, sell us your IDs up to Friday. We give them back to you on Friday after voting. All these. And then the government emerges after all this intimidation, voter bribery, robbing of polling stations. Okay. They emerge with a mere victory of about, I think, 400 votes. That is not a loss.
Thank you. Senior Councillor Mogene, I'm sure this was of interest to you as well. Yesterday, ELOG documented clashes between political rivals and also said that cases of bribery and state interference in the mini polls were evident. And it nonetheless also, on its end, Vocal Africa said that they will move to court to sue the IEBC and the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. In your view, what did not work for the opposition?
I don't know if I should start with what did not work. Or
yeah, please, yes. Let's
on the bigger picture. On the bigger picture. National interest, yeah. And I just want to sign off this issue of Nyamira by saying I was not emotional about it. It just, wanting a process that is fair. Because I'm from Nyamira, I know what's trending now on the social groups. People are now alleging that senators retreated. Between the 1.5 hours they retreated, money exchanged hands. You see, that's where we put ourselves when we don't allow parties to come and ventilate. So I want my friends here to understand that the process I'm pushing for is for posterity. It's not just for the county of Nyamira. Ayub. I'm a very worried person because I was in this country in 2007. I was actually leading the Law Society of Kenya then. And we had just come out of the 2005 referendum. Mm-hmm. And you could see the political tension building towards 2007. And people had started having militias, We had Mungikis, people had, I think, groups called Kalenjin Warriors, etc. And you saw what befell the country after the 2007 elections. I voted in this election in a ward called Nyansiongo in Nyamira. And just 2 minutes after I cast my vote, a politician invaded that polling station with armed thugs, armed with arrows, machetes, pangas, crude weapons, And the intention was to come and disrupt the voting and create fear in within the voting the geographical area so that you scare off voters. And I looked back and said, I actually picked my phone, called the chairman of IBC. I called one commissioner called Mary Karen Keegan. And I told them, you guys, do you understand the magnanimity of the task at hand? Because if you allow this thuggery around in the name of state-backed militias, you're going to destroy this country. Because if we started this by-election, it can only get worse as we head to 2027. I tried calling my former colleague, Murkomen, CS Interior. Maybe now he's such a very senior, big person in government. He didn't pick my call. But I want to tell him that you are a lawyer first and foremost before you occupied your political position. And where I'm worried is if we saw this violence in Homa Bay, we saw it in Nyamira, we saw it in Chicago. IBC must do something. The chairman told me, our hands are tied. The best we can do is to report to the police. Of course, after a while, I saw DCI officers. They came around saying they were taking statements and the likes. But up to date, today as we speak, I don't think any action has been taken. I saw a senior cabinet minister showing citizens that I'll extend this favor to you so that you vote for candidate X. I think one of the candidates was appointed to a foreign mission. Yeah,
so you're talking about the Malava,
in Malava,
the attaches.
In Malava. Yeah. All those are all those are electoral offenses. For God's sake, what is EACC doing about it? You saw the bribery. In Nyamira, we had people moving around with choppers for seats of members of county assembly, using what people have termed state resources, bribing, open bribery. You call people into a rally and you tell them, as we are government, we will give you money. You must understand that we are now the government. We have money we are giving you. And then you tell the voters, those who don't want money can go, as we have brought money. Okay. If we don't see any intervention, it means we have thrown rule of law through the window and we are going to degenerate into a state of anarchy. Okay. So the first challenge I think we are facing as a country is to demand for action from these key institutions like EACC, IEBC, because IEBC should rein in on people who are with impunity flouting our electoral laws and electoral code. If we don't do something, okay, I'm telling you, things will get worse in 2027. Yeah. In terms of the geographical outcome, I don't think the Uda administration should celebrate. Because if you look at the ward outcomes, it seems like there will be a struggle in Nairobi. And you know Nairobi is a huge voting bloc, okay? If you go to Bungoma, for the first time, I saw an inroad into Ford Kenya stronghold in favor of a candidate supported by DCP. I think DCP is associated with Natembea. Yeah. So it shows you that the voters are shifting. In Mount Kenya, it's you remember Ruto had, was it 97%? In 2022? It was 22. Now it's gone down to like 50. It looks like a 50-50 situation. In Western, it's looking like a 50-50 situation. Now, with a margin of error, it tells you that the government will struggle in some regions, okay, including Western, including is that Lower Eastern or Upper Eastern? The Mbere region. Mm-hmm. Now, Narok, did you watch the outcome? Narok, there was an MCA's contest in Narok town.
And DCP won.
DCP won by a margin of 4,000 votes. You saw Nyamira, there were 3 county wards at elections. All of them went to the opposition. All right. And the margin was like 83% against 17%. So I think if I was sitting as a strategist in UDA, I'll tell the president that you need to start getting worried. The way it's looking, the voters are shifting, and you may face a serious fight to keep your job in 2027. So that's the way I look at the overall map, how it is shaping out. I think for Eddie, ODM remains strong in Nyanza, to be fair.
Yeah, but also, Senator, as I come to you, and also Wakili Sigei, ideally it's concerning, is it, given the proportion of violence we had witnessed? Senator Eddie, to you, for example, the Homa Bay Town MP Peter Opondo Kaluma was assaulted in view of the cameras during the Kasipul parliamentary elections. Should it be concerning, given how high stakes our elections are and given the general apprehension amongst the public regarding especially the living standards and the state of the economy?
Thank you, Ayub. And I really appreciate the way you framed that question, because the fundamental issue that has come very strongly, at least from my 2 brothers, is the issue of intimidation and coercion. And remember, if you read our Constitution, Article 86, it prescribes a certain election that must be considered to have been conducted to a certain threshold. And that election has got 3 tenets. One, it has to have been done in a secret ballot. Number 2, it must be freedom from coercion. That's what the Constitution calls it. And that coercion is further, explained in terms of things like intimidation, voter bribery, all these things that my 2 brothers have talked about. And number 3 is transparent vote counting. The Constitution says that. So we must appreciate, first of all, that this was the first time the current IBC was conducting this election. And perhaps, I don't know, people might give them a scorecard, given that this is the first time that they've organized. If you look at the number 1 and number 3 issues in the Constitution, I think they tried their best. But this issue of coercion, it will be important not to single it out as one political divide suffered it more than the other. Like my friend Nyutu might have indicated, maybe my friend Nyutu was more focused on Mbere and did not know that there were many by-elections that were happening in the country that needed that we make sure that all Kenyans are protected from any kind of violence. Because the truth is this, the violence that was meted in this election on a number of people were not only by government people or by opposition people, it was violence that we have never seen before across board. And we must take it as that. In fact, the worst happened in Homa Bay that you have quoted, my brother Ayub, where an MP is assaulted in the glare of camera in a gazetted polling station. What does that mean? It means that both IBC and the police failed completely to even secure that polling station. Because a member of parliament cannot come, whether to observe and any other person, by the way, even a voter who has just come to a station, cannot come and be assaulted to a point of almost being beaten to death in the glaring camera of media, and police is also there without anything being done. So this is something that must concern the country. the kind of violence that we saw and must be condemned in the strongest point possible, not only in Mbeere or in Ugunja or in Homa Bay, but across the country. This is something that must end. Okay. And that said, my brother Mogeni has given us scorecard on how these elections happen and their implications. I can tell Mogeni that midterm elections are always very difficult for any government. I mean, you've seen this thing, even if you're to borrow from other jurisdictions, that the US, where we were with you, in November 4th, you saw it was very difficult for the government. But even yesterday, we had midterm elections where you saw that the Democrats in the US had a swing of about 10 to 15% against the government. So these things happen. But I think that the yardstick, if you're not speaking politics, the yardstick for the president, my brother Mogeni, were two. Was either winning Mbeere or losing it, and either winning Malava or losing Malava. That was the biggest test for what I would call the broad-based angle that we have to talk about. But I think that winning sometimes is trivial compared to the work that remains to be done for Kenyans between now and 2027. Because I can tell you for a fact, and I'm not a fan of maybe saying you want to praise a government or anything. But the thing is, if the government of the day does not do the things that the people want to be done, that touch into the economic issues, into the social welfare of the population, into the security of the country, okay, you will face a harder election than just the fact that these elections have happened. Because let me tell you, Ayub, 2027, I can tell you for a fact, coalitions will emerge. And those coalitions will be more important than even the by-election that we have just had, because we know our country is always run on alliances and coalitions. Right. So the task for the president and the task for the government of the day is, one, to deliver to Kenyans, and then number two, to communicate its successes properly. Because I think there's a very big gap in terms of the government of the day communicating its successes. If I had time, I would tell you a number of successes that I think are really important, even from where my brother Ruto comes from, that the president has done so much, but the people he has in government are just not communicating. Look at the coffee sector. The retail price of coffee has increased almost from 65% to around 110%. That is where it comes from. If you look at the issue of tea, where Mogeni partly comes from and the people in the Rift Valley comes from, the price of tea has increased to farmers.
No, you're misinformed.
Yeah, I'm not misinforming.
Tea has dropped. Our bonus earning dropped from an average.
I'm not talking about the bonus earning. I'm talking about the retail price of tea, because it is factual.
Which is more important?
Yes, the retail price of tea, because that is what goes to farmers. You see,
I bet the Murang'a senator is a farmer.
Yes,
don't say that on show, because the tea is disaster.
But you know, I get his time. If you think he has got facts,
I'll talk to Senator Wakili.
Yes, but I'm saying, if you look at even the milk sector, the price of milk has increased. This is a fact. If you look at the sugarcane sector, I can tell you for a fact, because I'm also a sugarcane farmer, you will see that we were producing 490 metric tons before the Ruto took over. Right now, we are almost getting to 1 million, and the sugar importation in this country has dropped. And I can talk about a number of these things, but they are poorly communicated, and they will cost the president if not done and well communicated.
Yes, Wakili.
I think that's where the focus should be, the impact on the lives of the people.
Yeah, Wakili Sige.
Before I get into this, just allow me to sign off on the impeachment process. Yeah. I want to invite my colleagues and the general public to also have an input. We are currently, as JLAC, we just tabled a report on a bill that has been proposed towards county government state officers' removal from office, that touches on the process of removal of a governor, so that we deal with the issues of threshold, fairness, the numbers, and all that we've talked about in the process of impeachment in future. That is the only way we can also input more and also deal with the processes that will ensure that the public is protected. Impeachment processes are also supposed to meet certain concerns. So I want to invite my colleagues and the rest of the public to look at that bill and also give their input so that we deal with these issues we've raised in future. Now, the outcome of the just concluded by-elections. I want to start from where AD mentioned. Mid-term elections are normally mid-term. It is one of those elections where, in most cases, the government in place always is very unpopular. And for us to have gotten the wins that we got is in itself something to be proud about as a member of the ruling coalition. And I'm happy that neither Senator Joe Nyutu or Kongo Mogeni talked about the numbers. They singled out an aspect of the entire process of the election on violence, which I'll just say something about it in a moment, but they did not talk about the numbers as to who won and what role that win speaks to.
Yeah.
In all the constituency elections, Mbere, Kasipul, Magarini, Malava, Banisa, the rest of those members of parliament, the entirety of it was taken by the broad-based arrangement. I would have been very worried if they had talked about Kariobangi, Kabuchai, Nyamira, Narok by-election for members of county assembly and said we won for the MCAs and we lost for the members of the National Assembly. That is a fact. They were sworn into office, and therefore, from where I sit, it was a win, despite the fact that being a mid-term election, government is normally very unpopular. Number two, and this is very important as regards the aspect of now the violence that was experienced across. The violence were not only on the side of the government. It is true, we witnessed in incidences in Migori, Malava,
Homa Bay.
Mbere, yes, and Homa Bay. And it's obvious we are fighting for a political space. The only unfortunate thing is that, which is something I would want to encourage, IEBC and all other government agencies, including the police, there is a law in place that deals with that. What we are asking of them to do is let them implement the law. There is no government that would support Goonism. And I'm happy, and this is also to the benefit of my colleague, I'm sure he must have watched. The CS for Interior, Murkomen was in the studio the other day, and he spoke into a report of Jukwaa la Usalama, which everyone was proud of, to the extent that he's gone down to deal with the lowest of leadership in the chiefs, assistant chiefs, and all that. He admitted that in the course of all this Jukwaa la Usalama engagement, the county of Nairobi, for example, is the leading in terms of the militia grouping.
130.
130. He identified that in that report.
It's a concern, is it?
It's a concern. He said that it's a concern, and therefore, it is not that they are supported by the government. I remember he said that despite the fact that we've identified these ones and the existence of these things, these groups, the proposal that was made is, what do we do in order to make sure that we deal with them? He acknowledged the fact that most of these groupings are associated with politicians. And it is true. When we were watching what was going on in Mbere, the former speaker, the Honorable Muturi, was seen on TV running to hit some member of public. Whether
he did not,
an MCA, he didn't. He was restrained. And you know, that's the kind of the Goonism that we are looking at, because if leaders are the ones who are leading groups, because you could see behind him there were a group of people who were whether supporting him or trying to restrain him, that is part of the conversation we are saying. We have got groupings in form of goons who actually will mess up this country if, as the CS was saying, we need to have a concerted effort, all multi-agency groupings required to come together and deal with them. Yes. It is possible for such sometimes even to overwhelm the police. We saw what was happening here. And so the fact that it's acknowledged and the fact that we are aware, we have an opportunity to deal with it pre-2027 elections.
Okay.
As I close, I want to just give a challenge also to the IEBC. It could be that this was one of their first assignments to do, but you know, they cannot give this as an excuse. They have the support of the government, they have the support of the public, because us as politicians would want to make sure that we've got free, fair, and verifiable elections. And I'm sure they have learned a lesson in it. But for the government, this was a well-executed and a happy outcome.